venture into the dark corridors of Oldboy, where Oh Dae-su's life becomes a chronicle of vengeance and mystery. Abducted and confined for 15 years without reason, he is thrust back into a world that has moved on without him. Each clue he uncovers propels him deeper into a maze of his forgotten past. What harrowing truths await him, and at what cost will he reclaim his lost time? The clock ticks for Oh Dae-su, and with each moment, the line between retribution and redemption grows ever fainter. Join us as we hammer back the layers of a story where freedom is a puzzle and the past is a prison of its own making. Let's dive in. In the year of 1988, the life of Oh Dae-su took a tragic turn when he found himself ensnared in a web of mystery and torment. The night of his daughter's birthday celebration marked the inception of his ordeal. Arrested for public intoxication and disorderly conduct, Dae-su's descent into a harrowing abyss began. His friend Ju-won came to his aid, securing his release, yet this fleeting freedom proved illusory. Before Dae-su could reunite with his awaiting daughter, an insidious twist of fate intervened. Mysteriously spirited away, he awoke in a confined hotel room devoid of windows, a captive without a clue as to the identity of his malevolent abductors or the motives behind his abduction. Confined to this grim cell, he was sustained through a trapdoor, subject to periodic gas-induced unconsciousness during grooming rituals imposed by his unseen tormentors. With the TV as his only conduit to the outside world, Dae-su gradually pieced together the fragments of his shattered existence. Shockingly, he discovered that his wife, Kim Ya-gin, had been brutally murdered. Worse yet, the evidence pointed squarely at him, making him the prime suspect. As the months and years crawled by, Dae-su's sanity eroded. Plagued by hallucinations and recurring attempts at self-destruction, each thwarted by his captor's relentless intervention. Frustrated and desperate, Dae-su turned to a journal, documenting the names of potential adversaries and nurturing a glimmer of hope through self-imposed combat training. Over 6 grueling years, he methodically chipped away at the wall, using only a metal chopstick. A small hole grew larger with time, offering tantalizing glimpses of the outside world. Raindrops falling on his outstretched hand, a cruel reminder of his entrapment. Dae-su's determination coalesced into a plan for escape. Concealing his tunnel with a bed, he meticulously orchestrated his bid for freedom. Yet, his aspirations were brutally shattered when he succumbed to a sleeping gas. His efforts thwarted once again. In his vulnerable state, a mysterious woman entered his life, wielding hypnotic powers that would alter his destiny. Emerging from a suitcase after a staggering 15 years of captivity, Dae-su found himself thrust into the open air, adorned in a pristine suit and a new watch. As he adjusted to the blinding sunlight, his gaze fell upon a suitcase containing the journals chronicling his anguished quest. Surveying his surroundings, he encountered a fellow captive contemplating a perilous leap. Holding a pet dog in his arms, a poignant scene illustrating the profound scars etched into the souls of those who had endured the unspeakable. Encountering another human being for the first time, Dae-su grasps the man's hand, pressing it against his face. Reveling in his newfound freedom, Dae-su is questioned by the man about the right to live, despite feeling no better than a beast. Dae-su, wearing a smile, merely echoes the inquiry. As the man teeters on the edge, Dae-su seizes him by the necktie, compelling him to hear his story before contemplating suicide. After recounting his tale, Dae-su strides away, indifferent to the man's desire to unveil the motive behind his suicidal inclination. Departing the building, the man plummets to his demise onto a car, pondering his next move. While navigating the city, Dae-su avoids connecting with relatives and friends, mindful of the suspicion surrounding him in the murder of his wife. Confronting a group of young men on the streets, he tests his combat prowess, defeating them with his fists and continuing his aimless meandering. Seated in front of a seafood restaurant, a destitute man hands Dae-su a cell phone and a wallet containing money, cautioning against questioning him. After perusing the wallet, Dae-su enters a sushi bar, ordering something alive to eat. Recognizing the server from a cooking competition on TV, he answers a ringing phone, where a taunting voice questions his liking for a new suit. Dae-su demands answers about his incarceration, speculating on the abductor's identity. The voice dismisses the importance of revealing itself, urging Dae-su to reflect on his past for answers, instructing him to find them quickly before hanging up. Putting down the phone, Dae-su is served an alive octopus by the server, who offers to slice it. Ignoring her, he devours it and collapses post-meal. Upon awakening, he finds himself in the server's apartment, recovering from a fever. She credits the effectiveness of the medicine she administered. As Dae-su heads toward the bathroom, the server informs him of the broken lock but cautions him against following her due to her possession of a knife. Ignoring the warning, Dae-su enters the restroom and attempts to force himself on her. The server thwarts his advances by striking him on the head with the knife's hilt. Ready to leave, Dae-su is halted by the server, who introduces herself as Mi-do. She expresses her interest in intimacy but asserts her readiness as a prerequisite. Deciding to search for his estranged daughter with Mi-do's assistance, Dae-su discovers that a Swedish couple has adopted her. Abandoning the pursuit of contacting his daughter, he redirects his focus to finding the man who abducted him. Mi-do receives an online message from a person with the alias Evergreen, inquiring about the Count of Monte Cristo. Investigating, Dae-su learns that Mi-do has been conversing with Evergreen about sushi. Distrustful of Mi-do due to her online connection with Evergreen, Dae-su decides to uncover his captors independently. He traces the food delivery from his captivity to a restaurant and attacks a guard in the building where he was held. Unveiling a criminal organization behind the incarceration, Dae-su inflicts pain on the operations leader, Mr. Park, to obtain a recording of the client's phone call. As he attempts to leave, a group of men confronts Dae-su outside Park's office. Armed only with a hammer in his fists, he valiantly fights them off, enduring a stabbing in the process. This scene showcases the determination, struggle, and ferocious nature of Dae-su and what's to come if he can get his vengeance. Upon finally exiting the building, Dae-su collapses, pulling out the knife. A passerby aids him into a taxi, revealing himself as the one responsible for Dae-su's imprisonment. Injured and unable to retaliate, Dae-su gazes at the man as the taxi departs. Upon returning home, Dae-su listens to the recorded conversation obtained from Mr. Park's office. The dialogue reveals discussions between the mysterious client and Mr. Park regarding the duration of Dae-su's imprisonment and the potential use of drugs in case of schizophrenia. When asked why Dae-su is being incarcerated, the client simply states that he talks too much. The following day, Dae-su seeks out his friend Ju-won, hoping he can identify the client's voice. Despite Ju-won's inability to recognize the client, he assists Dae-su in locating Evergreen online. Evergreen aggravates Dae-su by informing him that the statute of limitations on his case has expired. Returning to Mi-do's residence, Dae-su resorts to torturing her in an attempt to extract information about Evergreen. Just as he intensifies his efforts, Ju-won calls with the revelation of Evergreen's true identity. Evergreen, whose real name is Soo-dia, resides in a building across from Mi-do's apartment. Rushing to confront Evergreen, Dae-su encounters him along with his bodyguard, Mr. Han. Evergreen proposes a grim ultimatum. Unless Dae-su uncovers the motive behind his incarceration within 5 days, Mi-do will be killed. Evergreen offers to end his own life if Dae-su succeeds. Despite Dae-su's attempt to attack, the bodyguard thwarts him. Evergreen discloses that he has a pacemaker, which he can deactivate with a simple button push if subjected to torture. As Evergreen prepares to depart, he urges Dae-su to seek vengeance for the pain of losing his wife and child. He reveals leaving Mi-do tied up in her apartment with the door wide open. Distraught by her scream, Dae-su hastily returns to Mi-do's place. Upon his arrival, Dae-su witnesses Mr. Park and his henchmen subjecting Mi-do to abuse. Overpowered by the goons, he is restrained while Mr. Park attempts to extract his teeth with a hammer. Their violent act is interrupted by a phone call, and shortly after, Mr. Han arrives, offering a briefcase filled with money to Mr. Park. Upon inspecting the contents, Mr. Park agrees to take the money, sparing Dae-su. In retaliation for Mi-do's mistreatment, Dae-su threatens to sever Mr. Park's hand. After the departure of the assailants, Dae-su and Mi-do hastily exit the apartment. En route to a motel, Mi-do signals her readiness for intimacy by singing a song. Following their intimate moment, sleeping gas infiltrates their room, and Evergreen discreetly leaves a package. Upon opening it, they discover Mr. Park's severed hand. Suspecting they are being monitored, Dae-su searches for and dismantles the surveillance device at a nearby shop. In subsequent events, Dae-su and Mi-do visit Ju-won's internet cafe to delve deeper into Evergreen's background. While Mi-do explores online search results, Dae-su and Ju-won gradually realize that Evergreen was their high school classmate from the class of '79. To unravel the mystery, Dae-su and Mi-do visit their old high school to inspect the yearbook. Discovering that Evergreen was once known as Lee Woo-jin, a former fellow student, Dae-su contacts Ju-won to inquire about any information on Woo-jin. Unfortunately, Ju-won claims to be unfamiliar with the name. Dae-su inquiries with Ju-won about a former female classmate named Suah, learning that she passed away after his transfer to another school. Seeking more information, Ju-won discloses that Suah was known for her promiscuity. Unbeknownst to them, Woo-jin is present at Ju-won's cafe during this conversation. Enraged by Ju-won's characterization of Suah, Woo-jin kills him and reveals to Dae-su that Suah was his sister. To unravel the details of his incarceration, Dae-su tracks down Mr. Park, who, due to the loss of his hand, willingly provides information. Mr. Park confesses to drugging Dae-su's water to heighten susceptibility to hypnosis. In exchange for this information, he agrees to keep Mi-do safe while Dae-su pursues Woo-jin. Another former classmate informs Dae-su that Ju-won was responsible for spreading rumors about Suah's promiscuity. Reflecting on his past, Dae-su recalls accidentally witnessing intimate acts between Woo-jin and Suah, a revelation he had shared with Ju-won before transferring to another school. Guided by clues left by Woo-jin, Dae-su locates his former captor and confronts him, accusing Woo-jin of using hypnosis to erase the memory of their school incident. Dae-su learns that Woo-jin disputes this claim. According to Woo-jin, the memory loss wasn't induced by hypnosis. Rather, Dae-su forgot about it because it was not something he should concern himself with. Woo-jin discloses that rumors of Suah's alleged pregnancy began spreading shortly after Dae-su left the school. The gossip became so pervasive that Suah herself started believing she was pregnant, and Woo-jin held Dae-su responsible for the rumors. Accusing Woo-jin of murdering his own sister to conceal their illicit relationship, Dae-su is met with denial. Woo-jin shifts the narrative, revealing how he orchestrated the meeting between Dae-su and Mi-do with the assistance of a hypnotist. He presents a photo album featuring his wife and child. As Dae-su flips through the album, shock sets in when he realizes that his daughter has grown up to be Mi-do. Enraged by this revelation, Dae-su attacks Woo-jin, only to be restrained by Mr. Han. Despite his injuries, Dae-su puts up a fierce struggle and manages to inflict harm on Mr. Han. Despite his severe condition, Mr. Han overpowers Dae-su. Frustrated by the ongoing confrontation, Woo-jin decides to kill his own bodyguard. Woo-jin discloses that Mr. Park is still under his employ. Meanwhile, in Mr. Park's building, Mi-do receives a gift box with instructions not to open it until Dae-su returns, who, over the phone, urges her not to look inside. Desperate to prevent the truth from reaching Mi-do, Dae-su pleads with Woo-jin. Kneeling before him, he resorts to barking like a dog in a desperate display of submission. Unmoved, Dae-su takes a drastic step by attempting to cut off his own tongue. Finally relenting, Woo-jin instructs Mr. Park to keep the gift box closed. As Woo-jin departs, he hands Dae-su the remote control for his pacemaker. However, when Dae-su presses the button, it merely plays an audio recording of him and Mi-do during an intimate moment. In the elevator, Woo-jin reflects on the tragic death of Suah. Despite his attempts to save her, she implores him to let go, and as the elevator doors open, Woo-jin takes his own life with a gunshot to the head. Now residing in a secluded countryside, Dae-su reaches out to the hypnotist, sharing his story and seeking assistance. Initially reluctant, the hypnotist is swayed by the poignant last sentence of Dae-su's letter, where he questions, "Even though I'm no more than a beast, don't I have the right to live?" The hypnotist cautions Dae-su about potential risks to his memory during the session, but he agrees to proceed. During the hypnosis, she divides his mind into two personalities. One remains unaware of the truth about Mi-do, while the other, the monster, will age 1 year with each step until reaching 70, culminating in its demise. Upon awakening alone in the snow, Dae-su is joined by Mi-do, who attempts to warm him. Expressing her love for him, she embraces Dae-su, eliciting a smile from him. However, the smile transforms into an expression of sorrow and pain as they continue to hold each other. As the haunting tale of Oldboy concludes, we're left to grapple with the weight of Oh Dae-su's quest for truth. His journey, a harrowing quest through time lost and vengeance sought, forces us to reflect on the nature of forgiveness and the chains of fate. What would you do if years of your life were stolen? How would you confront the ghosts of a past you never lived? If this deep dive into the shadows of Oldboy has stirred something within you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking recaps under the moonlight. Your engagement helps us bring more stories out of the dark and into the light. Thanks for watching.